We are learning new information about the daring rescue attempt by U.S. Special Forces to try to save an American hostage from al-Qaeda terrorists in Yemen. Navy SEALs landed miles away and quietly worked their way closer to where the terrorists were holding photojournalist Luke Summers, as well as a South African hostage. But their element of surprise was blown when they were roughly 100 yards away. General Jack Keane is chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and a Fox News military analyst. General, good to have you today, even though I hate to be discussing this story. How many calculations are involved in trying to move forward with this decision to go after a U.S. hostage in this very hostile territory?
Yeah, certainly. As you indicated, these are very challenging and dangerous missions, to be certain. They're the most dangerous ones we go on. The fact of the matter is that what you're trying to do is achieve surprise, as you mentioned in the intro. We know the force at some point will be detected. Ideally, detection doesn't occur until they go into the room where the hostage is at. But the fact is, likely detection will occur before that. From the point of detection till they put their eyes on the hostage, that is the life of this hostage is in very grave danger. If it's minutes, it's likely he's not going to survive. If it's seconds, it's likely or a very good chance he may survive. In this case, they stood off. They landed 5 miles away because they didn't want the noise of the aircraft to give them detection. They walked in stealthily, and they got detected when they got very close to the compound, unfortunately. That meant minutes before they would get to the hostage, and therefore they were able to shoot him. And that's really tragic.
It is. And we know that they were transported out. One died in transport and another one later in operation. That second hostage, there was such a complication there because Pierre Corky, the South African hostage that was there, we're told that there were negotiations that didn't involve the governments that were involved in trying to get him out. The U.S. didn't know about that. And the story is he was going to be released that day.
Yeah, that's really tragic and sad if all of those facts are indeed true, and tough on his family to have been so close, because we didn't know he was there, and certainly we were going to rescue anybody that needed rescuing. That's for sure. And going back to the calculations, the other major calculation that takes place here is the danger to our forces. What is the risk? Helicopters can get shot down. These troops can get shot, they can get killed. All of those factors have to go in. And what's the size of the force that is actually holding the hostage is also an issue.
And there are some reports that within just seconds of being detected, that there were al-Qaeda fighters who went into the room, we believe, where the two hostages were being held. And if they're going to lose what little leverage they have, which were those two men, we assume at that point, although we don't know, that their mission was to just end their lives at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we could get to them.
We'll continue to do these missions, though. I'm convinced of it, because when life is being threatened the way ISIS and al-Qaeda are doing it, and they truly intend to kill somebody, this is the only way of getting them out alive. And once you calculate what the risk is, I think the president will continue to run these operations.
It's got to be one of the most difficult decisions he ever makes. Well, there's growing controversy surrounding a Senate Intelligence Committee report on the CIA's interrogation of terror suspects after the 9/11 attacks. Outgoing chairwoman Dianne Feinstein could release the report as early as today, but there are some calling for the committee to hold off, fearing what's in that report could spark violence and put a lot of lives in danger. In fact, General, we know that there have been warnings to go out, to our diplomatic and other interests around the world, suggesting added security potentially in the wake of this report being released. If the mechanisms and methods that were used, as allegedly outlined in this report, have since been barred by the Obama administration, what do you think is the purpose now in releasing this report?
I don't know. I'm mystified by it. You have to take the counsel of the Secretary of State, the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, and the White House itself as saying the information in here could be dangerous to our people who are operating in the field. Well, if that's the case, that should be sufficient, given who these officials are and their responsibilities. So I don't want to get inside the senator's head in terms of what her motivation is, but there's something not right here in her just stubbornness about wanting to release this report in the face of that imminent danger to our people.
Of course, with Republicans taking over control of the Senate, and Richard Burr from North Carolina, the Republican, is going to step into her spot. And Democrats are worried that the report will never be released or somehow changed or modified if Republicans take control of, once they take control of the committee. But as you mentioned, there are plenty of Democrats from the White House on down who are trying to urge her not to make this release. She has a very well-respected career, decades of service. Do you think it's important to her for legacy reasons to make sure this is released? It's hard to know exactly because she has, by many people, been viewed as pretty measured on a lot of hot topics in the past.
I know the Senate. I have a lot of respect for her, as does anybody that works with her. And that's what's so mystifying about this, because she is so protective of our intelligence services, and her long tenure here as a chairperson of this committee has been nothing but outstanding. So it surprises most every one of us in terms of what's taken place here. The other thing that's kind of disturbing, if it turns out to be true, is that the investigators in the committee did not talk to anybody that was associated with this interrogation program. And I'm not certain how the report could possibly be balanced if they haven't been spoken to.
Well, just as we were discussing in the UVA Rolling Stone story, you have to get all sides and talk to everyone involved to have a full picture of the facts. So we'll see what she decides to do. General, always good to see you.
It's always good seeing you, Tanya. Take care.